Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Michelle Graff, and I'm the editor-in-chief at National Jeweler. I'm pleased to welcome you to the latest episode of My Next Question, National Jeweler's new webinar series sponsored by Jewelers of America. Today's session is hosted by our senior editor of fashion, Ashley Davis, and features Olivia Landau and Jess Velke. Before I turn it over to Ashley to get the webinar started, I just want to let our attendees know that if they have a question, they can type it into the Zoom Q&A box at the bottom of their screens. I will be back on at the end of the discussion to share the questions. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available on the National Jeweler website this coming Friday, September 16th. Now, I'll turn it over to Ashley and her guests to get the discussion started, and I'll be back on at the end to field any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar on Mastering Jewelry Talk, or Jewelry TikTok. TikTok is the most downloaded app in 2022 worldwide. According to Wallaroo Media, in the United States, there are about 80 million monthly active users. 60% of those American users are between the ages of 16 and 24, which is roughly the Gen Z demographic, while 26% are between the ages of 25 and 44, which accounts for millennials and the youngest Gen Xers. The app has remained an elusive tool for today's fine jewelry sellers. Today, I'm interviewing two guests who have cracked the code on translating luxury product to the informal, off-the-cuff style of TikTok. I'm delighted to introduce them to you now. We have Olivia Landau, CEO of The Clear Cut, and Jess Velke, photographer and digital marketer for Maejean Vintage. Both companies have amazing presences on TikTok and are very different types of jewelry sellers, showing that it is possible for any seller or influencer to make TikTok work for their brand. Before we get into how they approach the social media platform, I thought we could start at the beginning and just learn a little bit about both of them and how they got into the industry. Olivia, I'll start with you. Can you tell me about The Clear Cut and how you transformed what was once a blog into a direct-to-consumer fine jewelry business?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I grew up in a jewelry family, so I'm fourth generation in the industry. My dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather were all diamond cutters and dealers, and my mom and my dad actually had their own antique jewelry business. So I grew up around it, but never thought I would personally get into it until after college. Right after I graduated NYU, I enrolled in GIA to become a graduate gemologist, and that's where I really fell in love with diamonds and gemstones. I started my career at Tiffany on the engagement floor, and that's where I really fell in love with engagement rings and diamond jewelry specifically, and then started working in wholesale. While I was at GIA, I met my now husband and co-founder, Kyle. He had come from a very different background. He had started a fair trade diamond mine in West Africa, and he came back after the Ebola epidemic and enrolled in business school at Columbia. It was this strange happenstance where a lot of his classmates would go to him asking if he knew a guy that could help get a good deal on an engagement ring. And since I was working in wholesale, I ended up being that go-to guy. So from working with our friends and Kyle's classmates, I realized that most people didn't know the first thing about buying a ring, a diamond ring. So that's when I launched The Clear Cut. It was an educational blog, and this was in 2016, really just meant for our friends to read about the do's and don'ts, the 4 C's, all of that kind of stuff before they came to work with me on their ring. And then I started posting some designs on Instagram, and that's where it really started taking off, and more people were following the account. So strangers started following the account, asking if I could create their custom rings, and it turned into this accidental side business that was totally unintentional. But we realized that there must be a white space in the market if people, complete strangers, were trusting someone through Instagram with their life savings and their engagement ring. So in 2018, we decided to quit our jobs and pursue The Clear Cut full time. We specialize in bespoke natural diamond engagement rings. In 2019, we launched our Clear Cut collection, which are like wedding bands, earrings, necklaces, all of our fine jewelry. And we've been growing ever since. And social media and educational content has been the core and genesis of our whole business.
Wow, that is such an interesting background.
Thank you.
Very cool. And then Jess, you wear a few hats over at Maejean Vintage. Can you tell me about the company and then also what you do there?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Ashley. So we are a fully online jewelry store that specializes in vintage, antique, and estate jewelry. We were founded by sisters Laura May and Amanda Jean in 2010. They are both now GIA graduate gemologists. They built the business up from the ground, starting in their parents' basement to now we have a really nice office here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, with a total of 17 members, and they're all women. I joined the team a little over 2 years ago, and like you said, I wear a lot of hats. I do a little bit of everything from photography to digital marketing, customer service, and now TikTok.
Okay, great. And excluding TikTok, which social media platforms would you say have been the most important to your businesses when reaching customers, and kind of which platforms were you devoting the most time to before TikTok?
So for us, our whole business really took off and started on Instagram. So that's really where, we've always focused a lot of energy, and mainly that was the only place we focused a lot of energy on. Pinterest does help too, but it wasn't like Instagram was. But over the past 2 years, we've really shifted a lot of resources and time from Instagram to our TikTok.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What about you, Jess?
Yeah, we would agree. Instagram has always been really important for us. Lara, our founder, established a presence there pretty early on. So we found that it really helped us that we got on there, near the beginning of when Instagram was really starting to take off. So we take that as evidence. It's really important to establish a presence on any platform that seems to be up and coming.
Right, I agree with that. In terms of TikTok, it's interesting how some jewelers will talk about that jewelry isn't big on TikTok, but just looking at the Instagram phenomenon, it seems like any next platform that comes up, it seems worth it to devote your time there even before jewelry has kind of taken a hold of it. Now, can you both tell me when you made the leap into TikTok and why you decided to do so?
So I totally agree that we always wanted to be like an early adopter of any new platform. I think at first we started dabbling in like late 2019, early 2020 with TikTok, but it was still a place where, it was mostly like dancing videos or like 9-year-olds were following us. So we didn't really know what our place was until the pandemic, which is when I think a lot more people started downloading the app, being like active users. So I think late 2020, early 2021 is when we were like, oh, there is a space for, our product here, like our niche here, and there are customers that could be potential for us on the app.
Okay.
We started very casually on TikTok as well. I believe we didn't really do anything with TikTok until myself and my coworker Heidi started in summer of 2020. And even then we were still very casual about it. Didn't have much of a strategy. We just kind of post whenever we had an idea that kind of fit the current trends. And then we had our first like quote unquote viral video in April of 2021, I believe. And that's when we started to take it a little bit more seriously. It was always really important to me that our TikTok be a space for community. Instagram is known for like the filters and the curation and now shopping, and TikTok is very much made for community and collaboration and learning. And there's really a community for everything and anything on TikTok. Like you have any interests at all, you can find it there. So I wanted us to be one of the first jewelry stores that was kind of building that space on TikTok.
That is such a smart observation, that TikTok is about community, whereas Instagram has always been kind of the aspirational platform where you can do these really highly edited, curated feeds, and TikTok's just like a bit more down to earth about connecting with people. I like that. I'm curious, what were your initial thoughts when you joined the platform, and your initial thoughts when it came to advertising a luxury product there?
Well, like I mentioned, I was really skeptical at first because it was really young. And the people that were on the app, like I was like, are they buying engagement rings or like buying jewelry? I'm not quite sure. But it did quickly evolve to have a larger audience. But I was really skeptical at first. I knew that we had to, dabble and like see what was going on there. But yeah, skeptical.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I saw opportunity for collaboration and community, but I definitely knew it was going to need to be on a more casual level. I could tell people really want you to, they want to see the real you on TikTok. They don't want to see ads. Ads are generally not very welcomed. The instant somebody recognizes that what they're watching is an ad, they're scrolling right past it. Whereas I think Instagram, that bit of time where you're recognizing it's an ad is longer. TikTok, as soon as you feel like you're being advertised to, you're scrolling. So I felt like TikTok was more of a place to build the brand and build relationships with our followers and our customers, as opposed to directly selling the product. Because we have definitely seen that happen where we can make sales there, but building the brand.
Yeah, it's way less of a, sales focused platform. Like Instagram is definitely like, here, tag this, you can shop directly. TikTok is a little less suited for like shopping, and I think more suited and I think you have a little bit more fun with TikTok. Like we're a little bit more playful. We would like try different things that we wouldn't do on our Instagram, because it allows you to like have a little bit more fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
So from the point of just getting onto the platform and then where you are today, how would you say you grew your presence, or not even until where you are today, but to a point where you felt like you had developed a little bit of a presence on TikTok? What was that process like for both of you?
I think it was really about, for us at least, testing what content works well. And one thing that's really great about TikTok, that's different than other platforms, is you really get immediate feedback in like what content performs well and what doesn't perform so well. I feel like on Instagram, you're kind of limited to, it's never going to go below a certain something, and it's never going to go as viral as a TikTok post would go. But it really allows, like, if you have a good post, that the algorithm will take it and it can go truly viral into audiences that, may not necessarily follow you. So that is one great thing. So it was a great place to try new things, see what stuck, and develop like our niche there, which I think, like she mentioned, like there's a niche and there's something for everyone on TikTok.
And Olivia, when you say that you kind of you can tell quickly if something's doing well, do you mean that the views and likes like happen quickly, like it's either made a big impact or not?
Yeah, you can immediately tell, like, are people engaging? Are they commenting? Are they having conversation around it? Are you getting a lot of views and shares and saves? You can see that happen like pretty quickly. So, okay, like people are interested in this type of content. What variation can I do on this? And you can develop like educational series on that. You can do, I'm always scrolling for inspiration and how we can adapt like fine jewelry to, trends that are going on TikTok. So it's good to see what content works. It's really great for experimenting. And then once you see, you're developing like consistency in the type of content you're creating and having that niche and that community, that's kind of when we were like, okay, we're hitting our stride here. This is like a platform that actually works. And once you start getting calls, we ask everyone, where did you hear about us? And before it'd always be Instagram. Now we're hearing, oh, we love you on TikTok. They didn't even know about our Instagram. So that's when we're like, okay, this is something to invest in.
Amazing. And what about you, Jess, that first viral moment in April 2021? What was the process like of just starting to finally feeling like you were making a little bit of an indent there?
I think of TikTok, like growing on TikTok, as very much a snowball effect. because it can be really frustrating to start when you don't have any followers. You're getting like 10 views a video. You feel like no one's ever going to see your content. But once something catches on, it really doesn't matter how many followers you have on TikTok. What matters, because you might have 100,000 followers and not all of those people are going to see every one of your videos. I think the amount of followers you have is actually important because it tells TikTok algorithm like what's important, or like what it tells the TikTok algorithm that what you're posting is interesting and that people are enjoying seeing it. But I think Olivia is right. Like, it's really important to just study the platform. You kind of have to commit to being a TikToker, understanding the trends, understanding the humor. The humor is very specific on TikTok. You can't be afraid to be silly. And that can be kind of tough for luxury brands of any industry to navigate, because Gen Z they very much, I think, care about authenticity. So it's important to think about what it looks like for you to make the shift from like produced ads to just more casual content. And again, like Olivia mentioned, studying what people are responding to.
Okay. And I think the advantage then that makes me think of for any small business is that's what Gucci can't do. They can't really have like a one person as a face, you know, even their designer changes over time. But a small business has the ability to individually connect in the way that a big corporation never really can. So I think that that's one really big plus of TikTok, and the idea that you are more successful on the platform when you show your face and develop this personal connection. I would love to get into some nitty gritty of the strategy when it comes to TikTok. So I don't know if you have any rules of thumb for how often to post, or hashtags to use, or you've talked about kind of knowing the TikTok trends, but maybe explaining a little bit more about how you do that, and you know which audio you decide to use, and also how often you post your own audio rather than something that is already trending. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you approach it.
Yeah, so we like to do a mix of content, like either just straight up like jewelry, us talking like educational content, little clips with that, or using trending audio. In terms of how often to post, I would say at least once a day. Like, I think we strive to post 2 or 3 times a day, but you know, being able to create all that content is difficult, but at least once a day for sure. Once you're starting out, I think the more you can post, the better. In terms of hashtags, you know, I like to mix in relevant hashtags with trending hashtags. So, you know, if there's a trending hashtag for the day, always just throw it in there. But I like to be specific in terms of what are people going to be searching for? Because a lot of times people use TikTok like they use Google. I do that myself. So I want, if someone's looking for an engagement ring or like an oval solitaire or something, I want them to be able to find this video. So whatever makes sense, I will add it in, because a lot of times that's how people will find us. They'll be like, oh, I was scrolling on TikTok for oval diamond engagement rings and I came across your video and now I'm watching it. For trending sounds, you know, you don't want your whole account to just be trending sounds, especially if you're a luxury brand. You want to like mix in education, you want to showcase your product in a fun way. But I think trending sounds, if you can make it relevant to your product or your business, can be really fun. And those are kind of some of the videos that go the most viral. We like to act on those pretty quickly, because we don't like, trends can come and go in like a matter of days. So if you see one, it's like, don't plan too hard. Just, you know, try it out, throw it up. And I think that's kind of what you mentioned. When you're a small business, you have the flexibility to be really flexible with your content, a little bit faster. There's not a lot of red tape or approval to go through. So I think that's really important for your TikTok content strategy.
That's so interesting. I want to just mention before I forget, but someone recently told me that YouTube is either almost as popular as Google or maybe more popular than Google for search engines. that people use it like a search engine. So I think that's such an important point as well, that TikTok is the same thing. So it's good to have those, I guess, hyper specific ones then to your content, as well as doing like hashtag Pepsi challenge, whatever is trending that day, which is not something that people are typically advised to do on Instagram, but it's worth it on TikTok. So that's,
I also think that if you're a consumer of TikTok, the more you consume, which is like terrible because I'm always like scrolling, it really does help your like content strategy or understanding like the app or the audience more, the more that you're a consumer of the app and the content.
mm-hmm. Okay,
And I've heard something similar, except I've heard that actually TikTok is now surpassing YouTube. So if YouTube is the new Google and TikTok is the new YouTube, people are searching, and I've done it myself, just searched, and because sometimes it's just easier to watch a video than it is to read an article. If you're looking for a specific, if you're searching for something specific, and people are going to TikTok for that now.
And how often do you post, Jess?
I try to post twice a day. If I have an abundance of content, I will sometimes post more than that, but twice a day is my goal. I do use hashtags, but I try to keep them at a minimum. I'm seeing a lot more about how important SEO is. So making sure that any text that's in the video is put there within the TikTok app. So if you're making a video in a different app that you want to use for multiple platforms, I try to make sure that I put that text in the video, text in the captions. I found that voiceover.
That's so interesting. I'm sorry, just to pause there for a second, but you mean when you're making your video that you should, and let's say you're going to add some text in, you're using a CapCut or an InShot kind of app to like edit your little video. You're saying add the text in the app, in the TikTok app only.
Right. Yeah. You'll put all the clips and everything together outside of TikTok, but then once the video is in TikTok, you want to use TikTok's text features to actually put the words on the screen.
That affects SEO.
That's part of what TikTok is reading to learn what your video is about, so they know who to show it to.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. I've also found that using voiceover, any video that I make that has voiceover, unfortunately, if I didn't want to use my voice, it's too bad, because apparently the ones where I actually will do a voiceover on tend to do better, as well as using auto-generated captions within TikTok. I try to make sure that all of our videos are captioned. Those all seem to be very important to the algorithm.
Yeah, that way when you're scrolling in public and you don't have your volume on, you can read it.
And it just keeps it accessible to, somebody doesn't, is deaf, or, again, they have their phone sound off. So, whatever situation you're in, you're able to understand the video.
Absolutely. And then we've kind of already gotten into this a little bit, but do you have any other examples of content that you find performs the best? Or Olivia, have you noticed anything like your education videos versus like fun little trends that you jump into?
It really, sometimes I'll be like, oh, this video is going to do amazing, and it doesn't. And sometimes I just throw something up and it goes viral, and there's no rhyme or reason. But I know for a fact that if I haven't gotten a lot of views and I need a little pick-me-up, if I post an oval diamond on a thin gold band, it will blow up. So that is my thing I have in my back pocket all the time.
There you go. That is so funny. I mean, but it makes a lot of sense, because I do think that is just an uber popular type of ring right there, but that is a very valuable tip for this audience. And what about you, Jess? Any other ideas beyond what you've already said?
What works for us really well right now is educational and historical content. So because of our niche in vintage and antique jewelry, we have a plethora of options as far as just if we want to give a little snippet, a little historical fact about a type of jewelry. So we recently did a video on Victorian love tokens and what the history is behind those. doing 100 years of such and such. So we did like a 100 years of wedding rings or 100 years of engagement rings, and just showing kind of the progression of what rings looked like throughout the 20th century. Also, anytime we get like a quirky or super unique piece in the shop, I try to showcase that, something that just stops people dead in their tracks because they're like, well, what is this piece? Our most viral video was a 90s flip ring that flips over and has like a gemstone on one side and you can flip over and there's a different one on the back. That had several million views. So anytime we get one of those in, we throw that up there. It's and it ebbs and flows. So we'll put a flip ring video up once and it gets 1 million views, and then we'll put it up again with a different flip ring, a month or so later, and it gets maybe 5,000 views. So you just kind of have to go with the flow.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. I wonder, this is just a personal opinion, but I think you can only have your viral moment when you've been consistent for a bit. Do you guys agree with that? Like if you have a page with only 8 posts, then you're unlikely to be like, oh, my 9th post is the one that goes viral.
I think it's random.
You think it's completely random?
Yeah, I do. I think the more you post, the more likely you are to get, a viral hit. But I've seen accounts where they get like 20 million views on something, and I'll go to the page and there's like 4 posts.
Oh my gosh.
It's really all about the content hitting at the right time, with the right audience.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you two have any tips you can share in terms of your strategy for producing the content? Because obviously for both of you, TikTok isn't your only job. It's not the only part of the business that you handle. So do you know a way that you think makes it more time effective in your day to do TikTok?
I block off time in my calendar every day to create content. So I work with our marketing team, and I'm always like in my notes app, like if I'm scrolling, like putting down ideas for what I want to film the next day. So every day I dedicate an hour to just like knocking out as much content so I can have like more of a backlog, so I can aspirationally post 2 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important. So it's all about like dedicating that time. And if I can, repurpose that content in any sort of way to other platforms, even better. But it's just about planning and dedicating the time to it.
Okay.
I collaborate with my coworker Heidi. She's our social media coordinator. She does our Instagram and Facebook. So if one of us has an idea, we try to, again, make it outside of the app that we work with. So we'll use CapCut or something like that, so that we can each use it. We try not to have completely identical feeds, because I like to have some things that are on TikTok that you can't find on Instagram and vice versa. But yeah, it's just about writing down ideas as they come and repurposing them where you can.
Olivia, what's your philosophy on the repurposing between like Instagram Reels and TikTok? Do you try to keep some of it different as well?
Yeah, I do. And I think, a lot of the content we're making on TikTok may not be relevant to Instagram or not really make sense for it. So if you follow, and I want people to follow us on both accounts. So you're definitely going to be able to find things on TikTok that you can't find on Instagram and vice versa. But if it's really great content that's relevant for both and it's already created, we will repurpose it and like make it into a reel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if there are any mistakes you've made along the way on your TikTok journeys thus far, or any strategies that you've abandoned, and any ideas of what not to do?
You have to make mistakes. I feel like if you're testing something out, like do not scroll down and look at my first TikToks. They're like truly, truly cringy and embarrassing. I'm like literally dancing in some of them because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So I think you have to make mistakes to like feel out what kind of content works well for your audience, your brand, your niche. Because you can learn really quickly like I mentioned, you have to throw things up there, see what sticks, see what's doing well, what people engage with, and continue to learn and develop. And that's with every platform or with anything you do. You're not gonna like be perfect like the second that you start trying things.
Okay.
So my advice is just to keep it as casual as you can. Don't think too much into it. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Again, Gen Z wants authenticity. So, don't feel like the video has to be too produced. It doesn't have to have professional videography. It doesn't have to have filters. I also say don't bury the lead. Attention spans are so short on TikTok. So if you put you need your hook to be in like the very first 2 seconds of the video and keep it moving along. And just, view TikTok as a learning curve because it's always changing. I'm always seeing videos about how the algorithm is reading different things now. So it's a constant learning experience.
Okay. And then now that both of you have a couple of years of TikTok experience under your belt, what do you think is the benefit of being on TikTok? It's kind of, and we've talked about it a little bit so far, but it is kind of funny because I remember early 2020 having a conversation with someone who was very much a know-it-all on the subject and was like, no, people don't buy from TikTok. Like, no, like don't get involved in TikTok. Like, it's not important for jewelry. And I think that just seeing the prevalence of the platform, I think that notion was probably a little misguided. But I'm curious why you think it's a valuable use of your time and kind of what benefits have you seen from being on the platform?
I mean, even if it wasn't created to be like a specifically shopping app like Instagram, like I buy everything off of things that I see on TikTok. Like, so if I'm doing it, that means everyone else is doing it too. It's a platform that can allow you visibility to a huge audience. I mean, to be able to have millions of people potentially see a video you create and have exposure to your brand or your pieces is priceless. So I don't think you should discredit it. I think it's it's like the new frontier of social media. Like right now, Facebook, Instagram, very pay to play. Most of your followers don't even see your content. Whereas on TikTok, it's kind of the opposite. If you have great content, it's going to, go like fire and like everyone's going to see it. And that's, worth a lot of money. So I think that it's definitely something you should invest time and energy into.
Yeah, the great thing about TikTok is that you always have the chance of new customers coming across your content. Because like I said, you can have 100,000 followers and maybe 1,000 of those people will see your video, but then it'll get pushed to new people on the For You page that have never seen your content before. And I think that's a unique feature about TikTok is that you don't have to follow somebody to see their content over and over again if the algorithm, understands that you like that kind of content. So you have the potential to reach a huge number of people and get them exposed to your brand with that platform.
Absolutely. This conversation has been so informative. I've learned so much. Now I will pass it over to Michelle so that we can get to some audience questions.
Thank you so much, Jess, Ashley, and Olivia. That was a really interesting discussion, and I learned a lot as well. And thanks again to our sponsor, Jewelers of America. We've had a couple questions come in, and we've had some questions that were submitted beforehand. As a reminder, you can still type questions into the Zoom Q&A box, and I'll try to get to as many as possible. While we compile the Q&A, I just want to say a quick word about our today's sponsor, Jewelers of America. Jewelers of America is the leading trade association in the U.S., offering members representation, recognition, and resources to help grow their businesses and improve consumer confidence. Are you in? Become a member today for only $99. Visit jewelers.org/join to learn more. That is jewelers.org/join. Now let's get started with our listener questions. So the one question we had come in beforehand that was asked by a couple people, Olivia, you talked about this a little bit, but people really want to know, how often do we need to post at a minimum to see results? Everyone wants to know, and we get this question all the time. I feel like any social media platform that we cover, people want to know, they want to know the mechanics, exactly how many times they should be doing it. Olivia, you mentioned your goal was twice a day.
Yes, I think like that is the best cadence. I know I've heard that, posting 5 times a day is the best, but to be realistic, the bare minimum would be once a day. That's like the minimum, and my goal is always twice a day.
Okay.
I think, oh.
Go ahead, Jess. Yeah, no.
I think the bottom line is that the more you post, the more opportunities you're going to have for a video to go viral. I think you don't want to post, like, I wouldn't post 10 times a day, because I think that TikTok will at that point kind of shadow ban you. They will hide your videos from people because that looks like spam. But the more you can post, the more opportunity you have for those videos to catch on and go viral.
Well, how many times a day do you try to post, Jess? What's your goal?
My goal is 2, but occasionally I'll do 3 or 4, and it depends on just how much content I have in my drafts.
And would you say 4 is your max then?
I would say so. I wouldn't really do more than 4.
All right, thank you very much. Here's a question about, so the trends, my understanding of TikTok is the trends around TikTok are kind of around sounds, they're around music. That's what the trend is, kind of a song or a clip or something. Is that fair to say?
And sometimes it's like a little motion or something with the sound, or
Okay.
not necessarily a dance, but like a thing that you do.
So do you feel like you always have to follow the trends? Like if there is something trending, do you try to make at least one video that is following that trend? Or do you ever think, well, I'm gonna be the one who starts a trend by just doing this other thing? Or do you feel like if there is a trend, definitely at least do one video following it?
If I can make relevant content using the trend, I'll definitely try to do it. Because if people are like loving that sound and following it, then there's more chance that people will see the content. I think that how trends start, people don't really like make a video to start a trend. They kind of just like happen.
Okay.
Yeah, starting a trend is the dream, but that's really difficult to do.
I'm sorry, Ashley, we were going to say something.
I was just going to add that I do think to that point that the more you scroll and consume, you'll see how certain creators were able to take a trend to their niche, and that is very helpful. And then you'll see the ones that you're like, this doesn't really I don't see it, and you can let that one go. But I have realized that trends can be not just a literal replica each time, by seeing how people have adapted trends on the platform.
Yeah, like for instance, like the corn song, we adapted it to like a bezel set emerald cut ring, and it did really, really well. And people like loved it. So you can take things that like might not make any sense, but like put your spin on it.
And the corn song, for everyone that's not familiar, is this song that came out of that adorable little video of the boy at the fair who loved corn. It was so cute. And I think he was named the corn ambassador for North Dakota or something recently, I saw.
Yes.
So Jess, I wanted to also, there's a question about something you said earlier. You mentioned that and Ashley brought this up too, that Instagram's a lot about filter and like aspiration and curating the specific look, whereas people on TikTok want to see the real you. So does this mean you don't use any filters on TikTok? I think that's of interest to our audience, because I mean, especially for jewelry, Instagram is all about the filters. So do you not use any filters on TikTok?
The only filter that I use within the app is, I think it's called the vlog filter, and it just brightens it a little bit. So it brightens the video, but it doesn't necessarily look like a filter. So I try not to add anything that looks like an Instagram filter. It's just like a brightening tool.
So someone else has kind of a more of a mechanics question. Someone wants to know, of course, there are right times to post on social media. Are the same time parameters applicable to TikTok? I normally don't post after 8 p.m.
I don't know about you, but I don't think of things in time parameters as much because it's more about the algorithm. And, you know, sometimes like posts will go viral like days after you posted, just depending on, you know, who the app is like feeding it to. So it's not really like a chronological thing.
There is a feature within the TikTok app that shows what time of day your followers are on the most. But I find that it doesn't really matter since sometimes your followers aren't even seeing it. It's all going to the For You page and it's new people who are seeing your videos. So my rule of thumb is just to try to post once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And again, if I have an overabundance of content, I might post just any other random time. But I've seen, especially lately, that I can post something and it doesn't really get a lot of attention until a couple of days later. So I don't really even think it matters what time of day you post. Just post whenever you're able to.
And your audience will see it whenever they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else wants to know, what are your favorite apps to create and edit video clips?
I use CapCut pretty much exclusively.
I create either in app or we like edit outside, like my team edits it. So I don't do it.
Okay.
I also think, and no, I don't have a good TikTok, but I play around with Reels a lot personally. And I think InShot is excellent. And they constantly add new features that you can do. The professional membership is only like $35 a year or something. And I find it very easy to get the hang of that one.
And that's called InShot. And
Yeah.
just the one you mentioned, just so everyone has it, is called CapCut.
Correct.
Someone else wants to know, someone else says, I have a business TikTok and find the audio/sound so limiting. We talked about this a little bit. Do you have suggestions? How do you find viral sounds?
I was a verified business TikTok and I went to TikTok to unverify me so I could become a creator account because I found it so difficult to grow with the like the licensed sounds that you were allowed to use. So that's what I did.
Oh, interesting. And you can just ask them to do that?
Yeah. I was just like, oh, we're not a business account. So this
Jess,
is my account.
Jess, are you on there as a creator?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a great tip, actually, then, if they are finding the same thing, Olivia, that is very limiting.
And on Instagram, it's funny because they'll put those same limits depending on your category. So if you have jewelry watches as your category on Instagram, you also cannot use like all of the music. But if you switch to like entrepreneur or something like that, then you have access to everything. So those little like loopholes are very handy because of
another loophole is, well, we have to be a business account on Instagram because we have our shop connected to it and it's the analytics are important. But if I usually like to make a TikTok first and then repurpose it to a reel. So then usually it'll just show up as like an original audio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good.
Someone else wants to know, how do you follow trends without violating copyright?
I wonder if that means in terms of music.
But my thought about TikTok was that I guess any music that's on there, you have the right to use, correct?
I'm careful to only use sounds that a lot of other accounts are using. So I don't really, at least in TikTok, I can't really speak for Instagram because my coworker handles Instagram for the most part. But for TikTok, I don't really upload our like original sounds. So I'll only use sounds that are already within the app.
Unless, of course, you're doing voiceover, which you mentioned as well for you.
And yes, I'll do voiceover, but that's just my voice. There's no copyright on
Right, right. No, not yet anyway.
it.
So this is another kind of question we get a lot anytime we talk to our audience about social media. I mean, they're all obviously running jewelry business and they want to know, like, how does this translate into sales? Like, do you actually make sales from people that come to you and say, yeah, I saw you on TikTok and I love that ring and I'm going to run to your website right now and buy that. And like another, and you're both nodding yes. So what kind of pieces are selling the best as a result of TikTok?
I mean, we're selling all types of pieces through TikTok. I think we've reached kind of a younger generation too, who is buying a lot of our collection, even before they're getting their engagement rings. And we're selling a ton of engagement rings too and wedding bands from audiences that found us on TikTok.
Okay, Jess?
Yeah. We'll post a piece on TikTok and somebody will see it there, go and buy it, and then they'll come back and they'll comment, oh, I just bought this. I'm so excited about it. So that's really nice to see that interaction and have that comment in there so other people can see, oh, this is available. This type of stuff is available for purchase. The types of things that we typically see sell because of TikTok are the very unique pieces that just have some kind of quality that you don't normally see just browsing regular fine jewelry. So we had some antique baby bracelets that went viral and those were sold because they were seen on TikTok. Flip rings, quirky charms, retro charms that have that are interactive, that kind of thing, typically will sell when we post them on TikTok or on Instagram.
And I think, Jess, you mentioned earlier, I bet what helps with you, because you are dealing with vintage jewelry and it all has a very interesting history, is the education element. Like, people are interested in it because it's beautiful, but they get more interested when you say, oh, these bracelets are from this year. And this is a little bit of the history behind this kind of piece of jewelry and why people used to wear it.
Yeah, and we'll get a lot of comments that are like, thank you for posting this. Thank you. This is so educational, so interesting. And those videos get a lot of shares too. They'll share them or they'll save them so that they can go back and reference them later.
I want to add one little question into the mix, if that's okay, because I think we've gone through them all. In jewelry, people are so lucky that they have a beautiful product to show on any type of social media platform. On TikTok, is it essential to show your face?
I think it is, because again, it really encourages that connection. It lets your personality shine through, and it gives a face to the business. And I think that, again, Gen Z is really interested in supporting small businesses and supporting people rather than corporations. So if they see a face, it's encouraging to them that they are supporting real people.
I also think because you're selling an expensive luxury product, showing your face and having that connection with your audience builds a lot of trust with them. So, they know and they trust you before they purchase with you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, those are great points. And I know that both of you have a mix of it on your content, product and your faces as well. And then for a company like Maejean Vintage, for example, Jess, that's your role, is to be that face on TikTok. So that is also an option for the small businesses where maybe the owner doesn't want to be on it, but that's where you outsource to someone who knows the platform better than you do and can really take ownership of that role.
I'm going to jump back in. We actually do have 2 more questions I want to get to before we wrap up today. Oh, no, it's totally fine. Those are great questions. Someone wanted some tips on filming diamonds and jewelry up close with no shaking.
Practice.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Olivia, do you look like earlier you said you look back at your early TikToks now and you're like, oh my goodness. And you feel like you've just gotten better just through doing it.
I think I was just like trying to, figure out what TikTok was all about and how we could fit in. So it's very embarrassing content, but yeah, as I became a consumer of the content and like stayed on the app for longer, we really perfected, what works for us.
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw in a tip of my own that someone told me in kind of the early days of TikTok, which is it's really very different. And I think before, if you want to have a business account, maybe start your business account and spend some time looking around at other business accounts in the same industry as you, jewelry, before, and like really understand what the platform's about before you start posting. Someone gave me that tip when it first launched, and I think it's a good one because it really is very different than anything else. You're right, the humor is different, the trending's different, the consumers are different. Oh, sorry, Jess, any tips on filming diamonds and jewelry up close?
Sorry, just 1 second. I know that Olivia has to hop off. Thank you so much, Olivia, for your time, and we'll just do our last question with Jess.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you, Olivia.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so filming diamonds up close. I will stand there and I will record over and over again until I get one that's not too shaky. I'll brace my arm or my hand against a table to try to keep it steady. It's just a trial and error. Do it until it's satisfactory enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like Olivia said, practice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the last question then today is, what biggest tip for luxury jewelry brands to fit in with such a casual platform?
I would say, again, just don't understand your audience and don't take yourself too seriously on that platform. Because again, if you have a super overproduced, just luxurious ad, it's going to get scrolled by immediately because that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for authentic connection with the brand. So it can be difficult to navigate that when you're a luxury brand and you're selling luxury products. But again, I would just keep in mind that your audience is looking for more authentic content.
And maybe that's just a total mindset shift. Think of it as your little funny office inside joke behind the scenes platform, and just really change your mindset of what you're delivering in that sense.
And behind the scenes is a really good way to look at it. Yeah,
I think that's great. Thank you so much to Olivia and to Jess for joining us today, and our editor Ashley for hosting. I think this was a great discussion, and there were a lot of great tips for people who want to get started on TikTok. My next question will return next Tuesday, September 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Associate editor Lenore Fido will be tackling the topic of jewelry insurance, including for jewelry that's in the showroom, as well as how to properly insure jewelry that's being transported. Her guests are Jewelers Mutual's Mike Devereaux and Andrew Tripman from Berkeley Asset Protection. The details are here, and you could read more about this session and register at nationaljeweler.com/webinars. And thank you so much all for joining us today, and please have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.